Hello, peace be with you. The notion that I want to tackle in this podcast is the notion of participatory solidarity. We know about participatory democracy, and when we speak about participatory democracy, we think of us as citizens being involved at the local level, in our neighborhood, with our neighbors, within our city, in our town. It means that we are connected to the social life at the local level, and we try to change things in order to get this bottom-up way of looking at our society, changing the local, thinking about the national, and hoping that it will change something at the national level. And in fact, there are three conditions when it comes to participatory democracy. The first is to care about the community, to care about the social collectivity. As I said in the previous podcast, talking about giving it to get out of ourselves and to look at the people around us. The second thing is just not only to look at the people and to care about the people around us, it's also to think about their well-being, meaning that there is a positive involvement, trying to change things for the better and to try to change the society in order for our fellow citizens to get this well-being, which is essential for a society at peace. And as we are talking about peace and as we are talking about well-being, there is a third condition here, which is not only we care about their well-being, but we are ready to resist and to promote social justice. So it has to do with justice, not only with our heart, not only with our human empathy. No, it has to do with getting the same rights for every single citizen. So it's to be treated on an equal footing, whatever your color, whatever your gender, whatever your social situation, you need to be protected by law. So three main conditions here: caring about the community, caring about the well-being of everyone, and then promoting justice. Now, if we come to the notion of participatory solidarity, it's quite the same thing, but we have to add many other elements to our discussion. In fact, participatory solidarity, it's a way to look at the world. It's the way we understand our commitment with our principles, our way of dealing with our society, and at the end of the day, the meaning of our life on earth. So we know that we cannot change everything, and this is the starting point of the whole discussion, because for some, the fact that we cannot change everything means at the end that they are not going to change anything. So it's to promote a sense of defeatism, a sense of passivity, a sense of fatalism, and at the end, we end up, in fact, accepting the world order, accepting the fact that this global economic order, the transnational corporations, the way we deal with nature and the environment is just to destroy everything. And millions of people are killed every day out of injustice, dehumanization, and we know this with the migrations today in the States, in Europe, everywhere. So if we look at the one and say, okay, I cannot change everything, I end up changing nothing, it means that in a way, by accepting it, we are complicit of what is happening. And we can't just say, okay, it's like a disease, I have to live with it because I cannot change, I cannot do anything at my level, it's too big for me, and I promote a sense of powerlessness. So the point here, it's important because our consciousness, our conscience, and our consciousness needs exercise. It's exactly like the body. As much as our body needs exercise, our consciousness needs it as well. And how do we do this? Just to be aware of what is happening around us. At the local level, we nurture our sense of humanity, our sense of responsibility. We exercise this, and all the spiritualities, all the religions are talking about it. Start with yourself. Start close to yourself. Start around you by exercising your awareness that you care about the people around you, and then it means that you will step by step care about humanity on a bigger scale. It's exactly, the activist Pierre Rabhi, a French, coming from Algeria, but a French activist, saying at the end of the day, it's exactly the situation of the hummingbirds share. There is a huge fire around, and the hummingbird is just trying to help by coming with a drop of water to just stop the fire, to put out the fire. And it doesn't work, of course, or it doesn't seem to have an impact. And the hummingbird is asked, why are you doing this? At the end of the day, a drop of water is not going to change anything. That the answer is, I know it might not change anything, but I'm just doing my share. I do what I can. So this philosophy, it's called the hummingbird's philosophy, is just, yes, the fire, there is a huge fire, and the world order is like a huge fire. We are not going to change. We are not going to be able to put out the fire. But what are you doing to stop? What are you doing to change at your level? So the first is really the first condition or the first feature of this way of looking at the world. Say, okay, I can't change everything. Still, I need to look at the global. I have to be realistic. I look at the global order, and then knowing that it would be unrealistic to try to change everything, let us start at our level to do what we can do at the local level in order to resist the structural injustices, the structural dysfunction of the world. That's the first point. The second is feature is to look at or to consider one's involvement as something which is a local counterpower to a national power or to an international global order. So this way of looking at our involvement at the local level as to promote a kind of counterpower to the world order, it's also helping us to understand that it's exactly the opposite of any kind of defeatism and fatalism, that we have to do something because counterpower at the local level added to other counterpowers at other in other fields, in other societies or cities or neighborhood. This will help to create a movement. So local initiatives together can change something, even though it doesn't seem to be so. This is the way we have to look at our involvement, facing this global order that is so powerful, so destructive. So how can we do this? Participatory solidarity also has to do with two human dimensions and faculties. Of course, it's a question of giving, it's a question of caring, it's a question of sharing. So it has to do with our heart. It has to do with how we have to remain or to keep our heart open. But at the same time, it has to do with our consciousness. It has to do with our sense of dignity and justice. So it's also about demanding. So it's not only about giving, it's also about demanding. I give out of my kindness towards humanity, my empathy, but I demand, I resist, I struggle out of my consciousness in the name of justice and dignity. So it's both all together. heart and consciousness, sharing and demanding our rights and the rights of our fellow human beings. So these are features that are important in our understanding of what participatory solidarity at the local level means. And once again, we find this in all the spiritualities and all the religions. And for example, in Islam, the very notion of zakat has to do with at the local level, care about the people around you. The poor people around you have rights on you, on your money, on your time, on your generosity and your consciousness as a responsibility. Now, having said this, how do we start? The first, of course, always, and this is once again a universal teaching, start with yourself, with your heart and with your consciousness. Care about your own needs, care about your own rights, and never accept to be mistreated. If you want to be respected, respect yourself. And respect yourself means that I'm starting with my involvement within the society. As a citizen, as a human being, I have rights and I want them to be respected as much as I know how to care about myself, to, as we say, take care of yourself, to care about yourself, and to also know how to forgive yourself, to, just try to find a way to be kind with your self as well. It also means that within your home, with your parents or with your kids, with your brothers and sisters, that's also very important to care about the people around you, not only when they have a problem, not only when there is a difficulty or there is a suffering or death, and this is why we care. And that's the problem. Very often, the people who are too much present in our life and are being absent because we don't see them anymore. It means that we need to, we need suffering, a test or an accident or death or a separation just to realize that they were with us all this time. So it's when a catastrophe happens that we just realize that the people we love were around us. To care about them is to care in time of well-being and ease, that we need to understand that we need to care about the people and to be involved at the local level. Means start with your home, and within your home just to have this participatory solidarity, meaning give out of your heart and demand based on your consciousness. It's also to widen the scope of your own family. The family is not only your parents and your kids, it's also your neighbor, the people. And we know this once again in our tradition, that it's so important to care about the neighbor and to, whatever their color, whatever their gender, whatever their social classes, whatever their situation. They are human beings, so you need to care about them, and you need to show this solidarity by being kind towards them and to struggle with them for their rights, for their a dignified treatment of the people around you. What does it mean? It means that, for example, you have your neighbor and you hear that there is domestic violence or there is mistreatment towards the kids. And very often we have people, in the name of privacy and respecting privacy, not going to be involved in this, it's none of my business. I'm sorry, when there is mistreatment, when there is violence and domestic violence, when a woman is beaten, when kids are mistreated, this is your business. You have to be involved in this. Of course, you need to find a way of protecting the privacy of the people around you, to do it in a wise way, but you have to do something about it. You cannot just say, and at the end, once again, your passivity, your way of not doing anything, it's complicit of what is happening around. Violence, domestic violence, mistreatment of children, and whatever, even with the people who are living just in your street, and they have no home, they have no money, and just you end up not asking even the mayor, not asking the local authorities about what they are doing to solve the problems and to try to treat the people with dignity. This is what I mean here by caring about the neighbor. So it's also to widen the sense of your family. Your family it's bigger than your family, your blood family. It has to do with the human family at the local level. Being involved in this in your neighborhood, it's also to care about home, to care about food, to care about the way the people are treated, and if the basic needs are not provided, it means that this society is dysfunctioning, that there is something wrong, deeply wrong in this society. And you have to be involved to change it at the local level, as much as the very notion, for example, of charity in the Christian tradition and zakat, the purifying social tax in Islam, has to do with the local level, the people around you. That's to change your way of looking at the world and to wake up your consciousness, do something about the people. When it comes, for example, to violence, very often the violence is just close to you, it's just here around you. And the victims of violence are very often the people coming from the same community, of the people who are dealing with drugs, dealing with violence, because there is lack of education, because there are social fractures, there are social problems. So the victims are coming from the same communities, very, very often the same in the same neighborhood, by the same people within the same community. Stigmatized minorities are the first victims of what is happening when it comes to violence and when it comes to drugs. We need to get this. It's not the rich people living in the areas and not being really much the victims of all this. So we need to deal with violence. We need to deal with drugs, unemployment, racism, all kinds of racism, and also to promote freedom for everyone, freedom to think, freedom to act, and freedom just to believe, and to believe in whatever you believe in, and to dress the way you want to dress. So this is also part of our social involvement and the dynamics at the local level. Now, these dynamics, as I was saying, at the local level, of course, they appear to be very modest, very humble, in a very humble way to try to change things. Yes, that's true. And they are very demanding, because you start one day and it's not for you just to start and then to forget about it in the coming year, as if, we are involved in solidarity once a year during Ramadan and during Christmas or during whatever event. No, it's an ongoing process, and step by step, every day, we need to be involved. So it's a demanding process here, modest, yes, and it can start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but you have to be connected and you have to care about the people around you, widening the sense of family, widening the sense of how we have to deal with our society, and ending up with this motto, that which is important. Yes, I cannot change anything, but what I can change, I should change. So you cannot change everything, change what you can. That's the way you have to deal with your life, and the way you have to deal with your neighbor. This is the rights of your neighbor upon you, and it's also the right of your heart and your consciousness upon you, starting with yourself, widening the scope of your family, and being involved at the local level to change what you can change. Don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them. Life is fragile.